The number one question I'll probably always get is, how long is it going to take? How much is this going to cost me?
I say,
The number one question I'll probably always get is, how long is it going to take? So, how do you answer that question?
I say, I can't tell you. It depends on a lot of factors, right? Um, what type of personality your spouse has, whether or not they want a divorce, who they hire as their attorney, because that makes a huge difference in how the process goes. How quickly you, the client, want to get a divorce. Um, Whether there's going to be initial custody issues, which sort of take over the entire process and can drag out for months and months and months. So all of these different factors sort of play into it. So it could take as short as a couple of months if everybody agrees on everything and all we have to do is draft up, the basic legal documentation and we're done. But if there's any conflict at all, it could take more than a year. And that's usually what I tell people when they come in. That 6 month period that everybody always references when they come in for a consultation is really the minimum that it will take for a divorce. Usually, even in super agreeable, everybody's amicable, they just want to get a divorce, it will take at least 6 months to get everything done.
The other big one is, how much is this going to cost me?
I say, I can't tell you. It is very hard to guesstimate attorney's fees, and that is also codependent on all of those other things that I just talked about. So if you have a very difficult opposing counsel on the other side, you're going to have to spend fees, and probably an extraordinary amount of fees. And this is just, I had a case that was very heavily litigated, heavily, like we were in court every month. And it was each party spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on fees because they were fighting about custody, they were fighting about money, they were fighting about their house. I mean, anything and everything that they could fight about. But it wasn't my client. It was the other side and their attorney who wanted to fight about everything. So I'm sure that you as the client may think everything's great and you just want to get it all done with. And I can tell you, hey, it's going to be done in $5,000 or whatever. But that would be totally false if your spouse hires somebody who's very difficult. And so telling somebody that up front creates a bad situation wherein I promise something that I can't really fulfill because it's not really my promise to make.
And that brings up a great point, that some attorneys are focused on driving up, are investing in the litigation because of the fees. And I think you all should be mindful of that. Everyone is not here, like Lena and myself, to kind of help you through the process, but sometimes that is a strategy to drive up the fees, to increase, their bottom line. So that's definitely something to think about. Which brings me to my next question I get is, I've never been through this. What is the process like?
So I tend to give potential new clients an overview, big picture overview. First, you file a petition, your spouse files a response, everything gets served. We then work on disclosures, and then it's time for settlement or judgment, right? Financial disclosures, that's what I mean. And I tell them there's like a temporary period, which is from the date of filing to the date of judgment. And post-judgment is kind of what I refer to as the permanent period, right? For permanent support. That's not really always permanent, but that's what I call it. So I tell them during the temporary period, after the petition and response is done, we can serve discovery, which means asking the other side questions about things you need more information about, assets you need more information about. Discovery includes depositions or written questions. And the temporary period also includes the ability to ask for temporary orders. And that's when you ask for temporary spousal support, child support, a parenting plan, and things like that. The less litigation you want to do during the temporary period and the less negotiation you have to do during the temporary period means that the case probably moves a little bit faster. So you can probably get to the final judgment phase a little bit quicker. And yeah, that's kind of the big picture overview, right? And then there's permanent support, which goes from the time of judgment until whenever you guys decide it's going to end, or it goes on forever. And all of that can be negotiated or litigated. I don't really talk too much about mediation and trial in that big picture overview unless they specifically